Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion to set a date with our interim orders for Councillor Bionich.
I will make that motion.
A motion to set a meeting date with our interim orders for 4 p.m. next Tuesday,
I'll support.
supported by Councillor Motley. And I'll also let Councillor Johnson know. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. No other items could have come up for the special meeting today. We will have the special meeting adjourned. It's at 9:10 a.m., Tuesday, March 7th. Thank you. Stand adjourned. Okay, next meeting, and we'll call to order, is the Committee of the Whole meeting, the regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting. Today's date is Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. So this is the Committee of the Whole. We have a fairly good-sized agenda today. We'll turn this meeting over to our City Administrator, Britt Seabenis. Britt?
Thank you. The first item on the agenda today is the request to approve the quote for a 9-foot Cry-Steel E-Series stainless steel truck box for Public Works under state bid contract number T-7655.
Jim? If you want to come forward in case we have any questions. I suppose the one question is this something we can approve in the budget in 2023?
Morning.
Morning, Jim. Any questions for Mr. Rosvit? Is this money going to be budgeted for, Britt? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you back there in the weed patch, Sherry. Welcome back. What do you, so I know they need it.
Yeah, we ran out of duct tape and it's been welded one too many times. How much was this again? 13,000?
13,000 something.
13,000, we actually, believe it or not, it actually came down in price from last fall. We're saving about $2,000.
That's fantastic. Okay. Anything else, Sherry?
No, we have to do this and we have the money, so.
All right. Councillor Beyondich?
No, I was just going to ask, we have the money and it's coming out of,
It'll come out, it'll be coded to his budget and most likely to balance it, it'll be out of the contingency fund. So I'll keep my spreadsheet going.
that's the contingency fund for the whole year for the city.
Right, and it balances out any unplanned expenses.
Do you know what that number is for this year in that contingency fund?
But what did I, offhand, I don't, it's over 100,000, so I will get you that.
And then as we minus off of that, are we, I mean, just so we have, as a counselor, I'd like to know where we sit on that contingency.
Yeah, I have a spreadsheet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beyondich. Councillor Freely, and then over to Councillor Motley. Councillor Freely.
So is there an annual capital outlay budget that's appropriated for Public Works?
Yes, and also too, we have our equipment bond that is going to be coming in here, and I know that we took some things off of it, but we still left it at around 3 million, so if we had to, we could push this in there too.
Thank you.
Councillor Motley.
After taking a tour of the Public Works with you, I'm most certain that whatever you're requesting is probably absolutely needed, and I am happy to hear that we have the funds for it.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion. Move to approve this request by Councillor Freely, been supported by Councillor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. Anything else for Mr. Rosvit?
Yep, the next item is review the proposals for tree cutting for 2023 street improvement project.
Okay. Who was the lowest bidder? It wasn't Calgaro, was it?
Yes,
It was Calgaro.
Calgaro and Sons Tree Service from Iron, Minnesota at $25,770.
Very good, thank you.
This is part of our 2023 street project, and we have to do this before March 30th because the long-eared bats, is it roost from the end of March to August? So if we don't cut them now, it will delay the entire street project to after August.
Okay, very good, thank you. Councillor Motley? Oh, I'm sorry, no, I didn't see. Councillor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. So I know We had talked about when I guess it would be the gal that came forward regarding trees and planting. Do we have any of this going forward for replanting in this budget currently? With the specific, with Calgaro's cutting down that specific location? Do we
Yep.
have a replanting plan?
Matt is working on plans still for 2023 street project, and then part of the plans was to include trees where requested and where appropriate.
Okay.
Correct, Matt? I don't want to speak for you, Matt, but is that correct?
Matt Reed, SCH, our engineer of record. Matt, good morning.
Morning. We certainly can. I know Britt, when we talked, we were tossing around the idea of doing something after the fact, maybe rather than doing as part of this contract. But one way or the other, I think there are open discussions about replanting trees. So whether it ends up in the actual plans now that we're doing, or we come up with a plan after the fact, that's still up in the air. But either way,
We're being cognizant of it.
correct,
Okay.
yes.
So I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and in your packet, I did put in the notice we had sent to all property owners. We only received 2 phone calls, and neither of them were concerns. One was a tree that wasn't in our right-of-way, it was not going to be removed, and the other one was
Not even asking
sure.
about the trees, wondering about
the intersection.
intersections that are gonna be closed, yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Looking for a motion, or no, it's more comments. Counselor Freely.
If I read correctly, though, the stumps will remain and will be marked accordingly for bikers, walkers, and so on. So will there be an additional cost forthcoming then to have stump removal, or will we be able to do that with city equipment to pull those?
We'll just have the contractor that does the street work pull the stumps. So it'll just be part of their bid.
Part of their bid? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Freely. So looking for council action on the proposals for cutting the trees with the, was it March 30th deadline?
Move the Calgoro bid forward.
Counselor Freely moves to approve the bid for cutting trees and award the contract to the low bidder, Calgoro. Is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Counselor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And then item number 3 is approve the quote for the Neo Water FX30 for the wastewater treatment plant.
Jim, can you give us a little, do you have any information about this and why we need this? What, for the general public's edification, what this actually does?
This is actually for the chemical process for our wastewater treatment plant. I believe it's every 3 to 4 months. This cost comes up, and we understood that when we did switch the chemicals over. So this is going to be an ongoing cost, basically every 3 to 4 months. I believe we budgeted for it, and it was in the process. So we've already received 1 load of chemicals, and now we're looking at our second load.
And in order to maintain the integrity of the wastewater treatment center, we need these chemicals. In addition to that, it's mandated by the MPCA as we move forward in the overall project that these chemicals will help keep our water purified. So looking for council action with respect to item 3 on the agenda.
The one thing I also wanted to note was the cost for transportation. It's expensive. I know we talked about this before. They quote us 8,000, but they agreed at 6,500 initially, so we've been holding them to that. So I believe that might show 8,000 again, Pam, in there. And I know they're held to the 6,500 for transportation costs on that.
So we'll make sure we'll make that adjustment to reflect the 6,500 as opposed to 8,000.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Council?
Well, it's something that's absolutely needed for moving forward. And is this then transported by rail or by tanker truck?
By tanker truck.
I would move forward the request for this chemical.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Freely moves it forward for the, approve the quote for Neo Water XX30 for the wastewater treatment plant. Is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Paulson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Anything else that's down there on the agenda for Mr. Rosvit?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Oh, the request to refill the mechanic, but I don't know that he needs to stick around for that one.
We're in.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Jim. Anything for Matt Reed?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, very good, thank you. Anything for Park and Rec?
But let's just get through the agenda, if that's
Okay.
okay.
All right, thank you, Britt.
We're gonna be here for a
Thanks
little
for the
while.
direction.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Item number 4 is approve the 2023 ASME Review Committee recommendations. And the first one was that the committee received 2 requests this year. The first one was the building maintenance repair foreman job description, specifically at the Iron Trail Motors Event Center, and the rate of pay adjustment that comes with it.
Okay, this comes as a recommendation from the review committee and support from staff, is that correct?
And it did go to personnel on 2/28/23, sorry.
Very good, thank you.
If I may,
Please, Counselor Freely.
this was a result of additional certification being required of this gentleman, so this is something that was necessary, and I think the rate of pay increase is justifiable based on that additional certification. So I would move forward the updated rate of pay.
Thank you. Counselor Freely moves to approve. Is there support? Is there support? Support by Counselor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
And the second one is the library clerk social media processing. We've been working on defining the specialized library clerk's job descriptions to more accurately portray what they actually do. And thus, due to the increased duties, we did ask to also, the review committee did ask to also increase the pay so that it's equally the same as those other specialized library clerks.
Okay, thank you. And this is a recommendation from the review committee and staff
Correct, and then the personnel committee did
and
review
the
this
personnel
again.
committee as well. Okay, thank you. Looking for action from the council.
I'll move to approve the library clerk job description.
Thank you. Counselor Motley moves to approve. Is there support? Is there support?
All support.
Support by Counselor Freely. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nobody. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item number 5 is a resolution for the hire of the community development coordinator position.
Okay, would there be a recommendation on who? Or is this a recommendation to approve the hire?
And we need a recommendation from the interview committee.
Okay, do you have a recommendation?
The number 1 total vote, or the number score getter is Jenny Bourbonnais.
All right, that's, okay, thank you. And there's the two that was interviewed. Okay, thank you. And you are looking for a resolution to move to the city council meeting for final approval to hire the community development director position, the candidate number 1. Thank you. Looking for council comments or action. Counselor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want a clarification on the probation period for a MAPE.
It's 6 months.
It's 6 months. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Looking for council action. Anybody from personnel or from the review committee? Counselor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. We interviewed, in the final round of interviews, there were 2 candidates, and we asked the 2 candidates to give us presentations, and then they were scored accordingly to not only the 5 questions that were asked, but also question 6 was their presentation. And as Britt indicated, we took the top score of the individual that is being recommended. I do, however, have an issue. I wouldn't say an issue. I guess I'd like to maybe talk about how our scoring process works. And when we commit to a panel, I don't know, I guess I'd like to maybe have some conversation about how that process works in the future. And if we should be doing an odd person or, how much of the scores are weight, like it's not necessarily a weighted score, it's an added score. So like I tend to score high when I'm scoring, whether I'm scoring, two people or whatever, my scores are just end up in that 4 and 5s or whatever. And some people score lower. So sometimes when you're balancing those totals, I guess I'm just wondering if we could have a conversation about maybe we could do our process a little better or look at how other processes are done in other communities going forward. But according to our current policy right now, the person with the most points is the one that Britt is recommending. So upon that, I would make a recommendation to hire
Okay. And the name? Her name again?
Jenny Bourbonnais.
Annie Bourbonnais?
Jenny Bourbonnais.
Your motion is to move forward Jenny Bourbonnais as to hire as the community development coordinator based upon
On
the
point tabulation.
tabulation on the scores. Thank you. Is there support for that?
Support.
There's support by Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item number 6 is the resolution of hire for the library associate position, and we do have Jody here also. We did conduct 2 rounds of interviews as a city hiring policy. They were very, very close scores. We had some extremely qualified people that applied and some very great interviews. And our recommendation is Sophia Anderson.
Okay, thank you. We're looking for calls for action based upon the recommendations from our library director and staff.
So moved.
Move to approve that position and that name moving forward by Counselor Friedeb. Is there support by Counselor Barnzelli? Is there any further discussion? Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know, Jody, if you could refresh my memory. I was just questioning this, Britt this morning. I got confused as the 2 positions. The social media position, is this the reference library position that we had? Did we change the job description?
We updated it to
updated it.
reflect more current language, so it's reference and outreach. So we just updated the language to be more inclusive to the library and what the library.
What they're actually doing.
Librarian does, yeah.
Okay.
So we didn't really change it, we just kind of updated some of the
I just was trying to
language.
remember the week.
It was months ago.
That's what I thought. And then, was this the position that had the master's requirement?
We had 8 candidates that applied that had the master's degree. So
That's
we had no
amazing.
problem getting that part of the,
Congratulations,
Yes.
that's amazing.
that is amazing. We were thrilled, so.
So I just wanted to clarify that for my own, because I couldn't remember which position was which, and that we're just.
One was an update for a current position that we've been really pushing on our social media, just because that is one way that a lot of our patrons do get information. And this one is just, we did an update, I think, early January is when we did this. So we just updated the language to be more with current library language, so.
Very good, thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor Paulson. So it has been moved and supported to adopt the resolution to hire the library associate position. Is there further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
In a previous meeting, we were directed to start beginning contract negotiations with the golf professional. So today, on item number 7, we're reviewing and approving the contract for services for golf professional. Brian Silber is in the audience.
Thank you, Brian. I've reviewed the contract. It seems pretty fair. He's been our professional for quite a while. Does some great work for us, I think. So, Brian, any questions, comments with respect to this golf professional contract?
In meeting with Mr. Fingeroos, our discussions were pretty short, to be honest with you. He was happy with his existing contract. So essentially, this is the same contract that he had last time, unless Brian Lindsay made any adjustments to it.
Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I did not. I reviewed the contract and everything seemed appropriate.
All right, so the only change from last year's contract to this year's contract is the compensation rate. We agreed upon a 3% increase each year moving forward, which is very similar to what he had in the previous contract.
And this is a 3-year contract?
3-year contract.
Thank you. Counselor Motley?
Are you happy with the work he's doing?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, could you explain on the, I guess it's on page 28, I don't know if you have the packet in front of you. It's, I guess, item 4, the compensation that we're just discussing, and then it says golf professional retirement, and then golf course personnel. Are those, is that within Steve's contract, the personnel?
Yes, the golf course personnel up there, that's all of the greenskeepers, the people that mow and everything like that. All of those fall under this contract.
Okay, and then, so he's the professional we're hiring, and those are subs underneath him, is that correct? Or are they?
Essentially, yes. He is responsible for all of those positions. He pays all of the taxes, insurances, and everything comes out of that lump sum that we are agreeing to pay him.
Okay, so that's a lump sum, and it's adjusted, it's increased
And
accordingly.
he invoices us essentially bi-weekly or monthly for that, so we don't pay him that lump sum at the beginning of the season. He sends that out on monthly invoices to us.
And my other question on that is, does the city have a way of, like, does he turn in hours? I mean, I know that that's part of his, like, because he's paying them, but how does the city know, like, is this 152,000 of value? You know what I mean? Like, how do we know that workers are working X amount of hours in order to come to that dollar figure?
As in hiring contractors, we can't tell them what hours to be working.
No,
How
I
we view
understand that,
yeah.
but I'm talking about tracking.
His payroll reports is what he does submit to us.
Yeah.
He sends us the payroll reports, and then we reimburse
So
him.
you can see how much people are working
Yeah, and what he's paying them.
and what he's paying them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that was
And what it really boils down to is, are we happy with the end product that we are getting out of our golf course? I will tell you that we have some of the nicest greens in the area, even compared to some of the higher dollar facilities that you go to. So Steve and his crew do a phenomenal job.
I would agree with that. I just was trying to understand the, I guess, the behind the scenes on that. But I appreciate it, Brian. Thank you.
Okay, looking for some council action. First, we'll go to Councilor Freelieb, and then over to Councilor Beyondich. Councilor
And I
Freelieb.
don't know if anybody will have this figure off the top of their head, but I know when I started on the council 3, 4, or 5 years ago that we were running in the red at the golf course upwards of $200,000 a year. I think a municipal facility should hope to at least break even at best, if not hopefully be in the black in some regard. Have we made any gains towards revenues over expenditures at the golf course?
When I reviewed the budget at the end of December last year, we would have been operating in the black if we had not purchased those 10 additional golf carts. But as we're well aware, sometimes in running a business, you have to spend money to make money. Those golf carts were desperately needed. So essentially, that was what put us into the red again. But the deficit has been coming down thanks to the leadership of the golf course. And we've also been blessed with a couple of great years for golfing, especially on weekends.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of variability, but there is gains being made, is what.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I think the promoting of the, on the part of the golf professional, these, the youth, the seniors, the North Lakes Golf Association, the Canadian Golf Association, they all come to Virginia to play, and that's been monumental in the last few years. So kudos to Steve for that. Councilor Beyondich.
And the $5,000 for retirement, is that, what is that?
That's the same that we've been doing for his past 3 contracts, I believe. That's just money that is being set aside into a retirement account for him. Because,
Above the wages?
what?
Above and beyond the wages?
Yes.
Okay, and I will look to the finance director on, can you give numbers on how the golf course is doing?
I believe Brian pretty much stated it pretty good when he answered Counselor Freelieb's question. It's still in the negative, and I realize that we are still doing, the audit is coming up here in April, so we still have to close out 22. But it's getting better, just like Brian had stated.
So we're not in the black yet. Have we been in the last 5
No.
years?
No, and I can get you,
Well, we were darn close last year.
you know.
But not last year, 21, we were very, very close in 21. But there's a clause in his contract that if we do make a revenue profit, we can share it with him. So he has a very big incentive to get us up to the black. And that's been in the contract since 2020, and he's worked really hard to get to that point. 2020 was a weird year for everybody, but because that was the only thing that could be open, we had a great year. And we were very close to breaking even that year. And then we have to put depreciation in as part of the audit, so it's always going to look like we have to depreciate the whole golf course, the entire facility, against our budget, so it's always going to look like it's underwater as well, when you see the audit report for that.
And I mean, as a finance director, you're okay with these changes, with the increases?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And in golf courses, as we all know, are based upon the seminars we've gone to with other cities, that is primarily predicated on revenue stream, and it's all based on the weather. So 2022, we had good weather, and hopefully we'll have that the same. And so, that revenue stream, that's only predicated on the amount of rounds played. There's no other revenue stream that the city gets as a result of that. So thank you. So looking for some council action about this contract. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have another question, I'm sorry, regarding the retirement portion. Since they are an independent contractor, can we legally put the word retirement in it's like a stipend, but they're an independent contractor, so can the city actually pay for a retirement fund?
Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. So Counselor, my understanding of the way that this works is we don't designate those funds to any type of retirement. We're not placing it into an account. They're just breaking it out. And so long as we just hand him the check and the contractor pays for, whatever fees or costs would be associated with that, so long as he makes independent decisions about how it's invested, we can do that.
And use the word retirement?
Yeah, essentially, whatever we call it, it's all just a lump of cash that we're giving him.
So I'm just wondering, should that be changed to a stipend?
I was going to say, maybe we need to call it a retirement stipend so that it's clearer of what it really is.
So I guess I'm not opposed to the amount, I was just wondering the actual language. So if we could do that, maybe that would clarify a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Paulson. So is there any other discussion about the golf professional contract? If not, looking for council action one way or the other.
I'll move the contract.
Thank you. Councilor Motley moves to approve the contract. Is there support? Support by Councilor Freelieb. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Item number 8 is the update on the clothing policy and uniform allowance at the Iron Trail Motors Event Center.
This was a subject thing that Councilor Paulson added to the agenda.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I actually, it got, I guess, lost in translation, but I had it in before the deadline. But I wanted to get an update since we did have our new sales and marketing director beginning and her onboarding process has started. I wanted to get an update where we are at because we still currently do not have a policy for we've got the dress code that was developed by staff, would be Brian, Britt, maybe Jim was part of that development, but the city still does not have an actual policy on, I would call it, if we're requiring them to wear a uniform, what that allowance is going to look like. We have that in the AFSCME contract for the police department as well as the IAFF for the fire department. So I just wanted an update where we are at with that since we do have a new person onboarding and, I feel like what we went through last year was a little bit much It comes out to about $500 per employee for what was being ordered. And so I guess I'd like to get an update on what staff is looking at, what they're recommending, and then do we have to meet with AFSCME to go over this?
Brian?
I can let you know what our practice has been when it comes to distributing uniforms. Upon hire, we give staff uniforms. If it is a part-time staff member, they receive a T-shirt or one of our black T-shirts, a collared shirt, a hoodie, and a soft shell jacket. If they and then every year, we will replace a T-shirt, collared shirt for them if they request that. For full-time staff, they receive a T-shirt, 3 collared shirts or work shirts. Like I wear a golf shirt as a collared shirt during the summer. A lot of our utility workers and custodians prefer the button-down utility shirt. So there's that, and it also comes in short and long sleeve. So they get 3 of those at hire: hoodie, soft shell jacket, winter coat, and hat, ball cap and toboggan type hat. Every year, our practice is to replace a T-shirt and one of the button-down shirts or one of the collared shirts.
Okay, so then my next, I guess, first of all, we need a policy on this, so I would expect us to move forward and have some sort of creation of an allowance for these types of things with a listing of that uniform. I think with our police officers, we know, and then they get to choose, they can go and choose whatever online, or we give them the allowance, and then they can go and shop as to the style of holster or whatever is that correct? Okay.
2 different types of vests, they get some options.
So my expectation then would be that there's something more put together than this. I mean, I appreciate what you're doing, but I feel like we need to actually have a policy regarding this. And then my next question, though, is it necessary to do all the embroidered shirts and beanies? Is that necessary to have them all embroidered? Because that's pretty expensive. Could you just do a polo, black polo, whatever, with a magnetic badge with the employee's name and the City of Virginia logo to, because Sherry, I didn't see anything in our 2023 budget, nor in 2022, regarding any clothing allowance. And last year we spent probably 18,000 plus.
I really think this does need to be reviewed, and I would be really careful about putting a clothing allowance in there and do more of uniform cost. This is what we will do, this is what we will replace. Otherwise, you're gonna start getting individuals going out and purchasing things maybe they don't really need.
Right,
And
and
then
I'm fine
it
with
just drives the
whatever.
cost up.
Yep, I'm fine with whatever that looks like, but I feel like we have nothing right now, so we need something.
And I think it's been, a little over a year now that we opened in September a year ago. So I think we should have a pretty good idea of where our costs are for uniform and, how many uniforms have been soiled or whatever. We should have a good idea.
And is that part of the larger discussion? Like, can we look at cost-saving measures like badges for part-time or what have you? I read this policy. I think, Brian, you gave me a copy of it before. So I think it's a professional, there's a level of expectancy for very much professionalism with the attire and the expectancy that employees are to show up at work looking very professional, according to what you put together. So I like that. I think that looks really good. I think from my side is I just want to look at the cost side for sure. And then we do need to create some sort of policy, and I would trust you staff to do that. And I thought that that's what we had asked to have done So that's why I wanted an update today.
I will tell you from feedback that I've received from our customers, they really appreciate the branded look that we have of the embroidered look, that all of our staff has a uniform look to them and they're easily identifiable. Also helps us in being identified if we are having to talk to a customer about behavior or anything like that, that they can tell that we're somebody semi-official at least.
Absolutely. And I wholeheartedly agree. I just would like us to look into some cost-saving measures going forward. You know, I mean, our police, what did we, in the new contract, up to 800? Or was it 7? That we just renegotiated. So I feel like, you know, our police officers have a lot more gear. And the Iron Trail Motors Event Center employees, that's a lot of money compared to what we're doing as an allowance for our police officers who really need that gear to perform as well, their job. So I would look at some cost-saving measures if putting a policy together going forward. And I don't know if I need to make a motion when we need to have this done, so I don't know, do you want me to put a time frame on this?
We want to put a motion on the floor to establish a uniform policy and bring it back to the council for vetting.
Well, and how do I word that? Because you have address standards and appearance policy. So how, we are talking actually about the money side.
Well, update the policy.
Do an allocation amount per person or however we, something
And
like
then
that.
if needed, does AFSCME need to be brought in?
Please, come on, Scott. Come on forward.
Gets 2 uniforms, correct? One summer, one fall. And they also receive $600 every single year to replace equipment pertaining to vests or whatever else. The fire department gets uniforms, they get their jackets all paid for and everything else, like the event center, but they also receive $720 every single year to replace stuff, where these guys are getting basically their first allowance of jackets, clothes, and then if needed, they replace them. Otherwise, if not, they just keep using them, and we don't have an allowance after that part. So your initial investment is probably high, but then after that, there doesn't seem, have they had any replacements, Brian? Have you had an issue with guys having to replace jackets or hoodies or anything like that?
We've had one staff member that will need to have his soft shell jacket replaced,
Okay.
and another that would like their winter jacket replaced.
Yeah, and to come up with a policy, that'd be great if we could, you know what I'm saying, give them some kind of allowance once they get their first initial uniforms of said amount of shirts or whatever, and then after that, if we had a policy, if need, like say our safety tool allowance. We get $220 every 2 years for safety shoes, and that works out fantastic. You know, if you don't use it, then it goes, the city gets to keep that money in return. So yeah, if we could come up with a policy, that'd be great, and some kind of a set amount that we could agree upon, that would be super too.
And I guess that's what I'm looking to do,
Yeah.
so whatever the motion might be. Because we do have, I mean, if you're gonna, it has to be in the contract.
Right, yeah, we would appreciate that we could have some come to an agreement, have a meeting or something and negotiate what we could come up with for a figure, that would be super.
Right, so
Because I can't
maybe-
see us going extravagant on all
No,
this, you know what I mean,
no.
by
And
any
maybe
means.
it's direct staff to set up a negotiation session with AFSCME about the modification of.
Sure,
Okay, that would be my motion then.
thank
Do
you.
you have that motion, Pam? Is there support for that motion? Is there support? Support by Counselor Motley. Further discussion? Okay, I have some discussion. I get having a policy. I have no problem with that. And, you know, police and fire departments are unique in that regard. And if our public works people need new steel-soled shoes, we make sure they get it. If they need safety equipment, we make sure we pay for that. And that the Iron Trail Motors Event Center, I'm not, with all due respect, I am not right now in favor of providing a uniform allowance. I'm in favor of providing uniforms as needed. If they rip their jacket or they rip their shirt or whatever the case may be, we replace it because our standard policy for the dress code is in place. We want a professional look in that regard. So if you get $500 a month, I mean, so you get 500, maybe you'll spend it on a shirt, maybe you'll spend it for Christmas presents, I don't know. You give them the money, that's fine. If they take care of their shirts and those kind of things, they can spend that money the way they see fit. Where with a policy in place, with the dress code policy, and the fact that we have a professional staff at work there, if they need a new shirt, they're gonna tell you, hey, I need a new shirt, or I need a new jacket, and it's up to our director of Park and Recreations or our operations director to make sure that they maintain a professional image and decorum moving forward. And with all due respect, Councilor Paulson, I don't have a problem with the embroidery as opposed to badges because they get ripped off your shirt when you're bending down, they tear your shirt. I mean, we tried this when I was working before, and it just, you want a professional look in that regard. And from my perspective, unless I'm missing something, if you need a shirt replaced, we need to replace it. If they need boots, we need to replace them. If they need a hat, we need to replace it. So if we give them $500 and say they rip their jacket, and they buy another jacket, it's $250, say they expend all their $500, then it's out-of-pocket expenses for them after down the road, and they're still working for us, and we have a policy telling them they have to maintain a professional decorum, so now the money comes out of their own pocket. That's the issue that I have. That's why when I worked before, we changed the policy. It says, we will give you a stipend as needed for example, the police, for your belts and for your holsters and those kinds of things, because they're expensive. But as far as your uniforms go, we went to the point where we would launder the uniforms for them and press the uniforms for them and provide the uniforms as needed based upon the activities that they had during their normal course of business. It was a lot cheaper to do that than was to pay them a stipend every month and then replace as needed as well. So those are the concerns that I have, but I'll wait for the policy to come out and then go with the consensus moving forward. But those are my comments.
And I agree with you 100%, you know what I'm saying? Because under the policy that the employees have to wear shirts, hats, I mean, we've ran into issues with employees with this, with the policy that they are required by city to wear the badging because of Iron Trail Motors. And I've said that all along. It's like, well, if an individual rips a shirt or rips a jacket, they would definitely hand it in to Brian or Jim, and then it would get replaced. That sounds awesome. I mean, that, you know, I get it 100%. That works for me. It does, because that way you're handing in something that's broken and you're going to get something back that you should have.
And on the uniform policy for uniform allowance, you're responsible as an employee to pay for that yourself.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, this
And
would
so
be easier.
if
And
I-
then it would fall underneath the discretion of Jim or Brian to, if it's justifiable, to replace that said item from whatever, you know what I'm saying?
That's just the way I look at it.
Yep.
But we'll wait for the policy to come forward and then go from there.
I would actually amend, because this is, I think you finally made me understand what I was trying to ask for.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess I didn't understand what I was asking for. It's maybe not an allowance, but it's an issuance, and then how to cost save, do some cost saving measures. And if the badges don't work, if a magnetic thing doesn't work, and that's the recommendation, I'm okay with that. But I think we definitely need a policy in place. So if you're okay with that, I don't know what you need me to amend my motion, but I'm on your wavelength, Mayor, and that's exactly kind of what I was trying to put out there.
I think the motion can stand as is. You're establishing a policy, and bring it
Okay.
back to us, and we can amend it as appropriate based upon staff recommendation.
Very good.
That
Thank
makes
you.
sense?
Yep.
Do we have a motion and approval? Okay, would you read back the motion, please? So we'll have to change that, I think.
Because the original policy in here, what I've read, is saying what you're saying, that initially the city resupplies the employees with said equipment, and if there is an issue, then it gets replaced by the supervisor direct. So I don't know, would you need to change anything?
We
in the
would need to
policy?
change the contract. We would need to negotiate a contract, in the contract.
Oh.
We just change the policy to reflect that, the questions that you have to make it more definable.
Yeah.
So the motion wouldn't include a negotiation session with ASME. The motion would, if with all due respect, would be to direct staff to establish a policy on how uniforms are replaced by staff at the Iron Trail Motors Event Center.
And I would also add a list of those items.
In the list of the items that, that are being issued.
Correct.
Okay. And it's for the full-time, I mean, there might be other boots for full-time and not for part-time or whatever, but a list of those replacement items. So would you amend your second for that, Counselor Motley?
Yes.
Okay, so could we read that amended motion, please, Pam? That makes sense? So it's the motion and the second, that makes sense? Okay, it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Item number 9 is to approve the request to fill the mechanic position, and this comes also from the Personnel Committee on February 28th, 2023. We historically had 5 mechanics. One of our mechanics was injured in 2020. We did not replace his position because we were unsure of how that was going to shake out with his injury, on-duty injury. We are fairly certain he's never going to come back to the mechanic position, and we do really need that 5th mechanic. So we would like to take that position out of holding and put it back onto our roster and add that 5th mechanic position back to the Public Works.
And I think our former Public Works Director was a mechanic, so kind of performed a dual role, sometimes try to fill him when that's the case, so.
He did. In those 2 years that Ed was here, Ed would jump in as mechanic when needed. But we are now at that point that we really could use that 5th mechanic again.
So it's a recommendation from personnel and staff. Okay, move to approve by Counselor Freely. Is there support? Support by Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item number 10 is resolutions for demolition. These are coming forward from St. Louis County. St. Louis County is requesting that the city act as a fiscal agent for IRRB grants, thus we need to do a resolution approving submittal of the grant. The first one is 511 15th Street North.
Move to approve.
Moved by Counselor Paulson to approve. Is there support? By Counselor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries.
The second one is 213 5th Street South.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Counselor Motley. Is there support? By Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3 is 225 8th Street South.
Ooh, yeah.
So moved.
Move to approve by Counselor Freely. Is there support?
Support.
By Counselor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries.
And number D, we have a little mix-up. It is not 805 Fifth Avenue South. It should actually be 610 6th Street South. She had one number wrong in the parcel code, and it pulled up the wrong address, so I apologize.
610 6th Street South.
610 6th Street South. So we will
Very
get you a modified resolution for the council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Move to support 610.
Move to approve by Counselor Motley for the demolition at 610 6th Street South. Is there support? By Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries.
And then the final one is 119 6th Street South.
Very good, thank you. 119 6th Street South, motion to approve by Counselor Barnzelli. Is there support?
Support.
By Counselor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries.
Just for the public's information, once these properties are demolished, the county then puts them on the tax forfeit land sale, so then they will be up for sale. So,
Very good, thank you.
item number 11 is approve the classification of state tax forfeited land with St. Louis County. There is one piece of land that we need to dispute. We had already put in our name for the RLS number 17, which is parcel code 0900137000030. So we can approve the other ones to continue to go to the tax forfeit sale with the exclusion of that RLS number 17.
And what is that address?
RLS number 17 is that portion of 13th Street South that we do not own, that we need to obtain.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're looking for a motion to approve the classification of that parcel. state-owned land.
Of all the parcels, except for RLS number 17. So the ones that are listed in yellow besides number 17 will go to the county land sale in April, I believe.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So move.
Move to approve by Counselor Freely. Is there support? By Counselor Beyondich. Further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item number 12 is approve the resolution to apply for and accept funds for the Community Partnership Grant Program for the Shop with a Cop program.
This is good news.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Counselor Paulson and supported by Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
There are no further items on the agenda.
No further items on the agenda. And seeing as we do have a segment for other items of concern, does any other councilor have any other items of concern that I'd like to discuss today before we adjourn the committee of the whole meeting? Seeing none, thank you very for your work. We will adjourn our committee of the whole meeting. Today's date is Tuesday, March 7, 2023, and the time is 10 a.m. We stand adjourned. Thank you.